Hello, everybody, welcome once again. Once again, like Bülent Bey, I will be giving my presentation in Turkish, but my slides are in English, and I would like to, in advance, thank my interpreter friends. And as I've mentioned before, today, both in a metaphorical and in the literal sense, I will try to briefly inform you about the galvanized steel industry. So what I'm basically saying is that I will be talking about a lot of things, but you might not be able to believe all of it. So the things I will be talking about is I will briefly talk about Borçelik, and I will conclude my presentation by talking about our hopes and expectations for the future. Borçelik is one of the biggest galvanized steel producers, and since its foundation in 1999, it has always produced galvanized steel that has high added value. Now, it produces 2,100 tons of metal, and it employs 1,200 employees, and it has invested about $530 million. And we are a solution partner of about 750 enterprises. And we are one of the largest industrial exporters of cold plates and galvanized plates. And we are the 19th largest industrial establishment in this industry in Turkey. Of course, it has 3 lines and a capacity of 900 kilotons. And basically, we work in conventional grades, and we work in automobiles, IF steel or galvanized products. But since 2015, we have been consolidating differentiation in two areas. One of them is R&D. We have established an R&D center, and we've been working together with over 50 engineers, and we've been working on and providing solutions to our partners in technology and methodology, and we allocate a budget of 20 million euros for this department. And another thing that we're working on is innovation. What we're trying to do is to create new products and services for our customers and differentiate our services using innovation and R&D. First of all, our products are Europe patented and certified. And we are offering these new products under 7 project categories. So why do we need to differentiate? Why do we want to differentiate? To really make you understand, I would need to answer a question about what happened in Turkey between the years of 2010 and 2014. Something beautiful happened. The Turkish national basketball team came in second in the World Basketball Cup. But what really happened? In these 5-year periods, Turkey, after the 2008 crisis and the 5 years following that crisis, Turkey has seen a 7% increase in its GDP. So in other words, Turkey has had a period where it was able to grow. And that combined with the international climate, of course, this is my perspective from the commercial side of things, especially on the flat steel side of things, we were able to work under liberal economic conditions in terms of our industry and in terms of the global market. And when we look into the archives, the news articles show you that with the Turkey growing, certain establishments in Turkey suddenly started making new galvanized steel investments. And 5 new lines of galvanized steel were constructed in Turkey, which then led to an increase in the capacity twofold. And as of today, 2019, Turkey has a galvanized steel capacity of 5 million kilotons. But then Turkey changed, especially if you were to look at the years between 2016 and 19, our compound annual growth rate was a meager 2%. And then between 2017 and 2019, we have almost not grown. Of course, companies want to continue existing naturally. And the Arab Spring, which was believed to give the public a fresh breath of air, didn't go as well as people envisioned, but instead it affected the economic growth of many countries adversely. And in Yemen, the civil war still continues, and so in most of our major trade partners, there was serious declines in economic capacity, which caused problems in our own economy. Again, our one of our closest trade partners with the USA, after the heavy taxes and countermeasures, our trade relations have all but stopped. And Ukraine was almost economically destroyed, so we lost that market there as well. And you've heard all about the United States and what went on between United States and Turkey today. So our relationship with America stopped being solely based on trade. And globally, we see around the world that there is a downward trend. And as Bülent Bey mentioned, these protectionist measures really hampered the trade activities. So all of these problems happening around us, unfortunately, affected us very adversely. But I have another but. There is still hope for Turkey. But as you see in the picture, a skeleton of an automobile. This means 800 kilograms of galvanized steel. And over 1 million automobiles were produced in Turkey. And the total vehicle production was 1.6 million. Now, in terms of the Turkish automotive industry, we are entering a new era. Although none of what I'm about to say is for certain, currently the commercial automobile partnerships and a prospective project about these automobiles, and again the possibility of Turkey becoming a production center for Volkswagen automobiles. These are important things to look forward to. And again, another important potential development is the Volkswagen investment in Turkey. Although it is on hold right now, once some political issues are resolved, it is expected to move very smoothly. Again, the Turkish Automobile Enterprise Group. We see that together with Gülcan Karakaşlı, in their 5-year estimates, Turkey is expected to do very well in terms of automobiles, and we will learn more about that in 2 months or so. Besides that, as you know, several weeks ago, there was a merger between PSA and Fiat. And of course, this merger meant that the Fiat factory in Turkey would gain more importance strategically and logistically. And this could mean that Bursa will become a production center in the future. So there is still hope for Turkey. Basically, what I wanted to say in my presentation is that Turkey has an excessive local production capacity, and Turkey is not doing its best at the moment economically. So what we need to realize is that many manufacturers are trying to utilize this excess capacity. They have sold over 15% more galvanized steel this year. And we've increased our exports by a huge margin. But as we've seen, this trade trend is still not sustainable as it seems. But our logistic advantage, the fact that we are able to deliver our products quickly and the fact that we are close to our target markets, all of these things mean that there will be a grace period for our country, but it might not be tomorrow. And it is possible to it doesn't seem very possible to estimate that our automotive production may increase by 50%. But I believe that there are opportunities to be utilized in the future. Thank you very much, and you can email me for your questions. Thank you.
Any questions? I think there are no questions. Can I ask you a question? So Orbe, when he was delivering his speech, he also mentioned about everybody is bringing the raw materials from their own country. So what do you think that Volkswagen is going to do? Of course, they've got different approaches to this issue, and the Koreans are more conservative in this respect, but especially German ones are giving a lot of importance to the localization. That's why I believe localization in the automotive industry very important. I mean, because technical support and delivery, timely delivery are really very important, and those services are going to be supplied by the local suppliers, I believe. So, I mean, it's really very difficult for Volkswagen to manage all these things, just importing them from the other sources. So that's why I believe that Volkswagen is going to be using the domestic suppliers within the country. Why do you think that the Korean plate is being preferred? So I have to go back to the presentation. Let me give my perspective. Well, maybe we can just say that this is the Korean national policy. So they are using national and local materials in their productions. So can I get the other question, please? Thank you very much for your presentation. Electrical automobile we are going to be producing. I mean, using the steel. Is there any difference between electrical uh, and the gas consumed cars? Making the things lighter is really very important, especially on the constructions of the electrical cars, and especially as you know that due to some of the emission restrictions, we are just trying to make the new automotive products lighter. So there is a different steel structure as well. So I think we have already talked about all these things, especially during the presentation of the Urbay in the morning. Was also these issues was touched upon. So of course we got some propositions regarding to that as well. So I'm gonna get a last question from Typhoon Bay. All right. So around 3 or 4 years ago, I used to be in a panel together with Asuman Hanım, and I told her, I told her, you're going to be as bad as the pipe producers, because they were also making some investment in that period. So when all the companies were making the investment. So, for example, you've got the capacity of 8 or 9 million tons and manufacturing around 5 million tons. So, do you presume any growth in Turkey as well? Because the world trade has already been changed drastically. That's why I'm not going to ask you another question in this respect. So in order to improve the galvanized product usage percentage, what do you think that producers should do? So I believe. So when this decision were taken in Turkey, the companies were doing really very good. Of course, there are some other reasons for that as well, but regarding the automotive industry, I can say this. So, for example, except that around 3 or 3.5 million galvanized ton galvanized plate are used over here in Turkey. So the momentum that the Turkey has just aimed at has not been achieved yet. So every increase in every sector, of course, will result in the increase of the usage of the galvanized products.